Thank you for coming this morning and welcome to Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. Darci, one of our speakers, is going to be giving us an invocation this morning. So with that, I'll move out of the way.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here. So as we prepare ourselves, let's just tap into our breath and our centeredness and our love and warmth for each other. Thankfully, it's not actually all that cold out this morning. So blessings to each one of you, and thank you for the gracious invitation to be here this morning.
And with that, Jean, can you read our statement of intent, please?
Good morning. We are fortunate to have a variety of speakers for Sunday services. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church where you can worship the God of your own understanding, a place to experience joy and be uplifted, a place where we can gain strength and inspiration to share with all we meet throughout the week. We invite you to join us in this celebration of life, to nourish your spirit, and to enjoy the company of kindred souls.
All right, now it's time to sing our opening song, which is Let There Be Peace on Earth. And you'll find those on the little white card in the prayer books or the hymnals in front of you or beside you. So with that, Carol. Let there All right, thank you. Just a few announcements. Number one, we have Bel Canto with us today. This is awesome. This is wonderful. They are a beautiful couple, and they do some absolutely amazing things with music. So we are more than overjoyed for that. But that will have to wait a minute because we have a couple of more announcements. Number one, Thanksgiving dinner. We are going to have a potluck. We have people signed up to do a potluck dinner for the Sunday before Thanksgiving. That'll be at 1 o'clock. There is a sign-up sheet downstairs. Last week, we just wanted to see if there was going to be any interest. Now we have a list that you can sign up on to put down what you're going to bring so that we can kind of figure out what we need to do in between if the church needs to buy something. Oh, it's on Thanksgiving Day. That's right. Sorry. I'm so losing my mind. So anyway, that's the one thing. Another quick thing about food is that we do have a compost bin that we can put the food scraps into. So we will have that out during the time when we're finishing up with lunch. It's a little bitty one, so we're going to have to re-empty it multiple times, most likely. But we do have a way to recycle our food scraps, so please don't hesitate to use our composting, a little bitty composting bin.
So, having been on the Zoom end of this a lot of times, what you said into the microphone is different than what Steve said about when this is.
Right. It's on Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's right. Thanksgiving is the potluck dinner. So don't forget to sign up. Any other announcements that we have at this point? Next week's speaker is going to be Barbara With. She will be joining us via Zoom to do our channeling of our community in spirit, so we can get some good advice from what she will be transmitting for us from them. So that is next Sunday. Also next Sunday is our board meeting, and board meetings are not closed. If you're really interested, you can come to a board meeting. We are going to be posting meeting minutes, board agenda, and the financial report on a bulletin board that we have, which we haven't put up yet. So that's coming. But so you can get an idea of what's going on the board, things that we're talking about. And if there are any items you want us to think about at board meetings, please let us know. So with that, let us look at our white cards again. On the white card is our Declaration of Principles. We've adapted these a little from the past, just to make them more easily readable and more precise to what we normally like to say. So as the Declaration of Principles, we start with, we believe God is the eternal source and creator of all and is present in everything. Our eternal soul, endowed with free will, grows through many lifetimes. Communication occurs between the physical and spiritual worlds. Prayer and meditation strengthen our connection to the divine. All healing comes from Source. Seeking this for ourselves and compassion for others suffering is the highest priority. Because we are all one, what we do unto others, we do unto ourselves. The choice of love is always open for every soul. Living these principles leads us to grow in divine love. And with love, let us think about those we love and those we need to love and those we need to pray for. Our prayer bowl has little slips of paper in it, but you can throw a prayer in the bowl, or you can throw it in intentionally, and it will be prayed over, and it is constantly being replenished with our prayers and our intentions for the health and welfare of people that we know and don't know. So at this time, I know a couple of people have already mentioned they have people they need to pray for. So give me a second here. Anybody want to come up and talk about Carol? I know you have one.
I'd just like to ask for prayers for our Carolyn Sheets, who's really super sick with a super bad cold. I mean, she really sounded terrible this morning. And so she feels bad she can't be here, but it's best to be home then. And so, thank you.
Hi, I'm asking for prayers for my son's family and the young man who died in an accident off a Skyline yesterday morning. His name's Tyreek Gordon. He was a constant presence in my son's family. My son's family has kind of an open door policy for kids. And I even got to know Tyreek because he's been there for years. 6 days short of his 20th birthday. He's a wonderful young man. When he came into the house, he didn't go straight down to see his friend Landon downstairs. He'd run right into the living room and sit and talk with the adults, especially my son, who they got along with their sports. But he was also an organ donor. And because of Tyreek, 2 people will receive the gift of sight. The corneas were the only things that they could save. So I ask for prayers for Tyreek's family and for my son's family. Thank you.
So my prayer, I ask that we pray for the humanity of the world, for truth, justice, kindness, and love, that we remember we are all one. Thank you.
And at this point, we'll pray for everyone and anyone who needs it. And at this time also, Darci, you and David are going to play something for us for our music. We're going to skip in the silence today. We're going to have our guest speakers come and play for us, and then we will have a moment of silent prayer, and then they will continue on with their presentation this morning.
I'll just say a few words about what we're going to open with this morning. This is work that comes from a larger piece that we wrote, and it features the work of Willa Cather, a Nebraska author. And we were greatly inspired by her work and her writing in particular. I'll share the poem after, but it is titled Dusk. And I think it's very fitting in memoriam for the young man that passed away. So I hope you take a moment to breathe, to center as we play this, and then I'll share a little bit more after we finish. So our journey as a musical duo started in 2016. I'm going to talk a little bit about that this morning, and the story behind it, just so you have an idea of where I'm coming from. And then I also wanted to leave some time for questions if people had any as we wrap up. Picture a frigid Midwestern winter evening. A shooting star, a dive bar, and a cellist changed my life. As a professional musician, I often work odd hours, and this particular evening was no exception. A friend's invitation to an open mic was intriguing to me. I was living in my basement, engaged to be divorced. I was happy to get out of that pressure cooker, if only for a few hours. On the drive over, I pondered the shambles of my life and the dead end I had come to creatively. I had centered everything around winning a full-time orchestra position, sacrificing thousands of hours practicing, making reads, and a fortune on auditions. I was a musical mercenary, working for the paycheck. I was deeply unhappy and unfulfilled. My first sign came in the form of a shooting star. It went on for what seemed like an eternity. I knew it was a sign. I had no idea of what. I arrived at the dive bar still marveling at what had just happened. It wasn't until years later that I discovered it was the Geminid meteor shower. And for you astrology buffs out there, yes, I am a Gemini. I joined my friends at a cluster of tables front and center. The evening was in full swing, with singer-songwriters taking the stage. In walks a man whom I later discovered was known as Cello Dave. As he took the stage, I was struck by the beauty that came from his instrument. The sound washed over me, and everything else ceased to exist. It transported me to a place of calm, a cathartic release that spoke to my very soul. Afterwards, our friends introduced us. The connection was electric and instantaneous. The night slid away as we talked over drinks. We shared a love of music, travel, and adventure. The next thing we knew, the bar was closing. I walked into the night, struck by his smile and the deep creases flowing from the corners of his sparkling blue eyes. I was in an extremely vulnerable time in my life. Why did this music affect me so deeply? How was it able to transport me out of the tatters of my own life? In the words of composer Philip Glass, my experience with music is that it's like an underground river. And like an underground river, we don't know where it comes from, and we don't know where it's going. The only difference is whether we are listening to it or not. Was I listening? Or was I fighting instead of allowing myself to go with the flow? I knew the answer. I was fighting with every ounce of my being to prove I had what it took to make it in the classical music world. And in that world, you embrace fear for a living. Going on stage to perform, ready or not. The work, the drive for perfection, the constant travel, it all takes its toll. Being a part of an orchestra is an unbelievably special thing. The feeling of so many people working together to create such beauty until it still takes me to a very sacred and special place. But it is also like walking on a double-edged sword. There's security and gratification in being a part of something larger than yourself. But often the job is predictable. Performing works in a centuries-old tradition. You are always replaceable, with many talented musicians waiting in the wings, not to mention the rampant sexism and abysmal pay. I decided to embrace my fear, to stop fighting, and instead experience what flow felt like. I had no way of knowing, but this liminal period of my life would take nearly a decade to navigate. I set aside stability and conformity to step off the cliff, transitioning from a commodity to a creative force, and from a creative force to an activist. My second sign, because I'm a slow learner, came in the form of a dream. In the dream, I saw an Aztec dancer, a familiar figure I had photographed in Utah years prior. He wore a headdress of flowing, iridescent feathers. They moved in mesmeric waves as if they were extensions of his body. He stood facing a huge tsunami, arms outstretched as if embracing the oncoming wave. He turned and looked at me, and with a single look created this message, sent this message to me: create. I knew I had to face my fear of failure and rejection and act. I hadn't written music since I'd left school. There was something about the rigors of academia that sucked the creativity out of my body, and I allowed it to silence my voice. After the dream, not only did I start writing music again, but it started to transform. I wanted to revolutionize classical music, to shatter the preconceived notions of what it was and where it belonged. I wanted to make it a little less precious and a whole hell of a lot more approachable. Expressing oneself through the act of creation can benefit the listener and the creator. In the case of Russian composer Dmitri Shostakovich, he considered the act of composition an act of rebellion against Stalin and a clear voice of dissent, one that nearly cost him his life. In 1948, Stalin banned Shostakovich's music for failing to uphold the Soviet ideology. Shostakovich's reaction was clear and succinct. Even if they cut off both of my hands and I have to write with my pen and my teeth, I shall go on writing music. He persisted, using his voice to speak out against terror and injustice until the end of his life in 1975 at the age of 69. In the case of Polish Catholic composer Józef Krupinski, he survived two of the worst death camps, Auschwitz and Buchenwald. He composed secretly by candlelight in the pathology lab, a place of gruesome human experiments used by the SS during the day. His compositions were his voice of dissent, but also of hope in unimaginably horrific and traumatic circumstances. He wrote hundreds of works, several in collaboration with his fellow inmates, all to create a living archive. During the death march out of Buchenwald, Krupinski fueled fires with his own manuscripts. Although it ultimately saved many, possibly even his own life, the act of destroying his own library extinguished his creative drive. After the war, he never wrote another note. This then begs the question, what is the common thread between myself, Krupinski, and Shostakovich? Their activism was so inspiring to me. My divorce, the dissatisfaction I was facing in my career, it all seemed to pale in comparison. My dark night of the soul, as it were, was to discover my voice. My mission was to take that mantle seriously, regardless of the cost, and to start forging a path that would make a real difference in the world. And because I'm a very slow learner, my third sign, the pandemic. Everything stopped. I finally had the emotional support, the time and space that I needed to embrace my new identity as a creative activist. My entire life, I felt like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Nothing felt right. And my kids have no idea what I'm talking about when I say this, but just like nylons never feel right, just never quite. Just doesn't matter what you do. I struggled with the commodified parasitic nature of the music business. I detested being treated as an asset, or even worse, as wallpaper that had no real place, meaning, or purpose other than in traditional roles for women. My journey into flow started with redefining what a successful career in classical music looked like. I still play with orchestras, but they are no longer my focus. Does that mean I gave up on my dream? Well, if your dream doesn't bring you happiness and fulfillment, then is that where you were meant to be in the first place? I began to explore the science of healing music. I was fascinated by new discoveries in imaging technology. that clearly demonstrate how music affects the brain. It doesn't just light up a small part as we once thought, it lights up the entire brain. Brainwaves change when exposed to repetitive musical elements known as entrainment. The waves synchronize and lower, just as a heartbeat can lower your heart rate, or the purr of a cat. It helps you to relax and relieve stress. The US Surgeon General recently reported the importance of stress relief for one's mental health prognosis. Additionally, the epidemic of isolation is the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. You can put that in your pipe and, well, you get my drift. As my mission clarified with each of these discoveries, creating community, connection, and healing became my ikigai, the Japanese concept of the alignment of purpose through the convergence of skill, passion, what you can be paid for, and what the world truly needs. I started writing music collaboratively with my husband, David. Yes, the cellist, we got married. We craft shooting star dive bar moments for others, moments that feel like being underwater, moments of transcendent calm. The very same feeling I experienced upon hearing David's music for the first time. If the timing is right, music can be a catalyst to your future. Everyone's experience is different, so sit back and relax. Give yourself the gift of time. It is your most valuable asset, after all. As we share our music today, all I ask is that you be open, whether it be to a decision, a choice, or a connection. Maybe this is your first sign, the sign that you need to move forward. The words of Philip Glass continue to echo. We don't know where the river is going. All we need to do is listen. you so much. Is it still on? Okay, good, yeah. I thought for a second it cut out. Thank you so much. I'd like to open up the floor for any questions or maybe observations that people have, reflection. Happy to bring the mic to people if you wish. Anyone? Yes.
Interested in your activism, define it, and then how do you connect it to your music? How did that journey happen and birth happen?
Okay. So the question was for the people on Zoom, how does your journey kind of happen, and specifically with music? I touch on it when in my talk. So a lot of what we do as professional musicians is basically creates a lot of trauma in the training that and how that happens for classical musicians. And so I found myself at a point in my career where I was dealing with a lot of stress-induced anxiety. And as an empath, that's problematic for several reasons when you're performing on stage. There's the stress of those people around you, your fellow musicians, and the traumas that they're bringing with them into a space, but also of the people that come to the concerts. Usually they're high-powered, you know, and who knows what they're bringing into that space. And so I had to find ways to cope with it. And this all kind of came to a head at the same time as my divorce. So I got into mindfulness practices and some breath practices and grounding practices for myself. And then the activism part of it started kind of in the middle of the pandemic for me. I had started a inner MBA program through the Sounds True Foundation, and they deal in an entirely different way in the business world. So there are mindfulness practices that they incorporate into it, but also ethical business practices, conflict resolution, things that aren't usually dealt with, at least not in a helpful, productive way in business in the day-to-day. And so that's where I think the path for me started with that. And then around the same time, I did a healing music certification. And when I remember from when I was a kid, I always wanted to help people, but I never saw myself as a doctor or a nurse or, you know, being in a hospital. So this has kind of been my kind of circuitous route to to helping people in that way. So thank you for your question. Any other questions or observations that people have? Yes.
The observation is the feelings that I felt while you were playing. And I felt as though this is the best opportunity to feel myself, to feel my spirit, and allow my spirit to feel with everyone here too. So we're all together as spirits of the universe too. Mm-hmm. And I had times when I had left my body and got to the universe too. So, but this is just a really great feeling of the oneness of spirit that we all are together. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's beautiful. A lot of people talk about that when we play. They kind of journey places, maybe do some emotional work. Yes. It's beautiful. Go home and look for it. Okay, I would love to hear it. welcome. So for those on Zoom, and I'm sorry I don't know your name, but Kate had shared that there was this connection that she felt from another piece of music from the past that goes beyond even the stars, some sort of greater out there kind of connection when we played. Thank you. Any other questions or observations? Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. Were you at the symphony last night?
Yes.
That was awesome. Okay, I'm going to be where Zoom can see. Hi. No, it's all good. This was lovely. Thank you so much. So I'm Laura, and let's see. I had a career in the healing industry, and then I chanced upon this lovely human whose name is Wendy Runke, who would just be everywhere I went that was really good. I'm like, well, hello, can we be friends? Because every place really good, you're there. So I became good friends with Wendy. And the point is that Wendy had a business with these relaxation chairs, which provide sound and vibration, and they put you in a meditative state. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Wendy's, which ended up her house is where these chairs were, and practice that on a regular basis. But the result was that music, which was always really good, got way better. It's totally a drug. Music's a drug. It is. And so anyway, music is just so much better. But I believe that music, I'm always looking for, when I go out, particularly to dance, for bands that just hit their stride with whatever it is that they're doing. And then I consider that the universal groove, and because it connects us to, a higher place. And then dancing, for me, is surfing of the eternal groove. So, but music and going to the symphony is now a particular pleasure. And we have a lovely, lovely symphony, so I'm going to just plug DSSO, 9 for 90 concerts, so they can fill the hall. You've missed out on it for this year, but get it next year, because you will not be disappointed. It's just a lovely experience. And we're very, very fortunate in Duluth to have multiple options for music that fills the soul. Sacred Heart offers a bunch of things. So, thank you. Okay, but now you're not a musical mercenary. Are you a musical missionary? There you go. I think you are.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share their thoughts? Or here, I'll give you the mic so people can hear.
Last night, waiting to go in the symphony, I met a person in line, and I mentioned that there was a woman in front of us carrying a case. I didn't know whether it was a cello or an alien because it was kind of a green color and had kind of a shape of maybe an alien. And this gentleman ended up being Cello Dave. And we related pretty good. And as you were playing, today I wrote this little thing. It says, "Carrying the alien. The man across the alley, waiting in line for the challenge of the dog sniffing at your heels. You carry the news of millions, the canary that sings to the untold, the quiet heroes. We are as one, need not wait. We as one need not wait, but relate, satiate in the taste of welcome to the morsel and the soul. I need no less, no more."
That's beautiful. Thank you. I'd love to get a picture of that after, if you don't mind. Any other reflections or thoughts or questions? I'm not sure how much more time we have, but so part of our activism has branched into some environmental concerns. So this is a piece that is new, has yet to be recorded, but really it's in the process of being birthed here. But it is inspired by the great sandhill crane migration that happens up through the center of the country and the Ogallala Aquifer. So our project that we are going to start filming and then do all the music for centers around the sandhill crane migration, and their main stop being in Nebraska, a lot of other birds as well, the whooping cranes and others, a bunch of geese. And we went out last spring with David's parents and witnessed that, and it's just amazing to see as they come in. It takes hours and hours and hours for them to land. And so this piece comes out of that circling of the birds and the landing. So So, and it's untitled as yet. So you're actually probably one of the first groups to hear it. So.
Are these guys not amazing? Let's give them another round of applause. Yeah. Oh, God, you guys, so great. I can feel the birds and see the birds flying. That was amazing. Oh, my gosh. All right. So we will be asking for our offering, and you guys were going to play a little music for the background there. So if you're going to be doing a cash or check offering, if you would like that to be part of your membership, please let us know. If you're writing a check, you can put it right in the little memo section. But if you're putting cash in the envelope, you can use the little envelope here. And it does say if you want it to go towards your membership, you can put it towards your membership. And if you would like to become a member, you can put your name on here and some contact information so we can get back to you. Jerry Bear, come and help me. Keep playing, you guys. Jerry's going to give us our little prayer for our offering while they play our beautiful music.
Okay. A prayer for our offering is listening to the energy of spirit and sound, the sound that we can take into our hearts. As it is within our hearts, it becomes part of the spirit that we are too. The spirit that listens and sounds and feels the energy of light, compassion, love, peace, and joy for our families and for each of us, that we are spirits of the universe of spirit, always and forever. Amen, amen, amen.
Thank you, Jerry. out to you as well. We can't thank you enough for coming and performing for us and sharing your journey with us. This has been an awesome experience. Thank you so much. One more round, eh? All right, and at this time, let us quickly say our church affirmation. You'll find that on the card in the pews. So our church affirmation: we totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. As our thoughts of trust and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership and people to our spiritual community. And what are we? We are grateful. Yeah. And do you guys have CDs for us that we might be able to purchase today?
Yeah, and I have a future date as well where we're going to be performing at Sacred Heart in June. So keep an eye out for that. I believe it's Saturday, June 6th at 7:30, and there will be wine and appetizers. So we'll also be showing our Cather, or Willa Cather film that we developed to go with our For Cather tableau. And as far as CDs, we have two different ones available today. This is a double CD set for the documentary featuring Ken Burns. It's called Willa Cather Breaking the Mold. It is not widely distributed as yet, but our music is. And then our Angels Share CD as well. The Angels Share actually is mostly on the soundtrack as well. So one is a single set and the other is a double set. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thanks again. All right, so let's gather in our circle and we will sing our closing song, Let There Be, God Be With You Until We Meet Again. Oh, yes. Were you going to do a benediction for us again? Yes. That's right. Thank you. We're going to make a big circle.
All right. The overarching theme that I seem to sense today was this idea of connection. So may we all, as we go forward into this week, into this month and year, find greater ways to find common ground, understanding, peace and love, and connection. Amen.